Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sal Gilberto, and I'm welcoming you to today's webinar, Everbridge Solutions for Active Shooter. I will be your MC today. You will be hearing from Kamal Demirasar. He's a senior sales engineer at Everbridge. We have a lot to cover today, so let's jump right in. So just first, let's talk about the agenda. There are a couple of housekeeping items that we want to go over. We're going to introduce our speaker. Then we're going to get right into Everbridge Solutions for Active Shooter, and then we'll follow up with a Q&A. So I do want to mention on the nature of our presentation that this webinar is a broad product demo of the many products and solutions that Everbridge can offer as part of our platform in the case of an active shooter at your organization. Please, if you are an existing Everbridge client, you may use this as, say, a refresher, but it's not necessarily a training. If you are interested in training, such as that, I would reach out to your account manager. So you may get some good ideas. You may get some ideas on how to use your existing system, but the main goal is to feature products that you may not have in your system already, whether you're a client or if you are not. So this question comes up often, so we'll address it now. We are recording today's webinar. You will be sent a video of the recording and a copy of the slides this week. So look for an email from that if you're looking to share this with colleagues. Or if you're looking to review it yourself. I will also mention that as we go through this, this is a mixed audience that's attending today's webinar. So there's a lot of state and local government officials, there's federal government officials, there's the higher education, safety community is attending. So we are going to try to address broadly applicable use cases that are useful to any audience. We do want today's session to be both informative and interactive. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to try to go fast. But if you do want to submit a question at any time, please do so via the GoToWebinar control panel. We will save some questions until the end. So just because if you ask a question and it doesn't get answered right away, that doesn't mean that we are not going to answer it. So please do submit your questions at any time and we will compile them. Just as a reminder, many of you on the line are probably aware of this, but this is sort of a follow-up webinar to a webinar we ran in January, the common questions for active shooter response. That was more of a general best practice webinar where we talked about kind of the causes of active shooter and how to respond, not necessarily a software demo. So that is the difference between these two webinars. That webinar from January is available on demand. We will include the link when we send out the recording of this webinar with a reminder about that webinar. And at this point, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Kamal Demirasar. Kamal, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much, Sal. How are you?
I'm great. Looking forward to your webinar. So with that, let's make you the presenter.
All right, perfect. So let's get the technology out of the way here first before we jump into things. So let me share my screen. Make this a little larger here to make sure everybody can see, and we'll go from there. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, Sal, for the introduction. Just for those that are just joining, I'm still seeing a couple attendees hop on. My name is Kamal Demirsar. I'm one of the senior sales engineers at Everbridge, and welcome to the webinar. In today's webinar, we'll take a look at how Everbridge's critical event management platform can be used to respond to an active shooter type event. Okay, so today's webinar is meant to be more of a product guide, as Sal mentioned, and it's meant to be a walkthrough of the different modules and solutions. If you are interested in any preparation tips, best practices, what to do, what not to do, Brian's webinar from 2 weeks ago is a great resource for that. So if you haven't seen it, please access that link and watch that webinar. Again, today is meant to be more of a product focused and what capabilities of the Everbridge CEM suite you can use to respond to an active shooter event. Now, here at Everbridge, for those that are not familiar with us, we provide enterprise software solutions to improve organizational response for critical events, right? In order to help keep people safe and businesses running faster. That is our mission, that's our goal, that is what we do at Everbridge. Now, the Everbridge's critical event management suite is made up of multiple products, okay? And I brought this slide up just to summarize what you're about to see today. We'll start with our core mass notification and incident communication solutions, right? You'll actually see some notifications being triggered and launched from the system. You'll see how those notifications are received by your audience, and we'll demonstrate that live. We'll discuss employee safety and dynamic locations using our safety connection module. And you'll be able to see the use of mobile app and SOS and panic buttons. We'll briefly touch on our crisis management solution for activation of response plans, digitization of standard operating procedures, and how the crisis management functionality within the Everbridge CEM suite can be used for that. And at the end, we'll wrap up our webinar with a quick look at Visual Command Center and our resident connection products. Okay. Just like Sal mentioned, because we have a mixed audience today, I will try to keep my examples as relevant as I can to all audience members. And we have city, county, state government officials, and we have higher education clients on the phone as well. And please use the chat session to submit any questions. We do have a lot of content to cover today and a lot of products to go through. So if something is not clear, submit a question in. If we can address it at the end, we will. If not, we can always take it offline. Okay, without further ado, so let's bring these slides down here. I do want to jump right into the product. A couple things first. I am logged in to the Everbridge suite. I am given the permissions to communicate with my audience, my contacts, right? So I'm a message sender. We're going to start with our mass notification and incident modules. This is all about that initial communication, right? Report it. You see something, you need to alert, you need to let your employees be aware of a situation that's happening. So because I'm logged in here to the platform, the first thing that probably jumps out at you is a number on the left-hand side of my screen that says 912. Well, that's simply the number of contacts or number of people that I have in my system. Those are the people that I have the ability to send messages to. Now, the reason why I'm starting with that is because if you are a higher education vertical, well, that number is going to be your students, faculty, and staff. If you are a city or a county organization, that could be your employees. And in some situations, that could be your residents and your citizens, right? So anyone who we send a message to in Everbridge is considered contacts. So when I say, let's go and select some contacts to send messages, you know exactly what I'm referring to, okay? And the good news is I have 912 people here and 911 of those people are not real. So I'm the only real person that's actually going to get notifications today. Now, we talked a lot about, in Brian's webinar, if you've attended it, we talked a lot about preparedness, right? Running tabletop drills and being prepared for the types of notifications you need to send out. So I'm going to stick to that theme, all right? Preparedness is everything. With Everbridge, with our mass notification product, you can quickly log in and say, hey, I need to send out a notification, something new, click here, type up a subject, active shooter reported, enter your content and send this out. You can do that. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. But knowing that preparedness is everything and knowing the majority of the audience that's on the webinar today, you have templates you've prepared for these situations, especially for an active shooter situation. Now, if you look at my environment, you'll see I have other things, right? I have some severe weather, I have some suspicious package templates, I have some power outage templates. The one that I'm going to focus on today, at least start with today, is going to be the suspicious person, right? Because before a situation turns into an active shooter situation, there could potentially be an active or a suspicious person report. So let's run through this example really quickly. There's been a report of a suspicious person in the city hall. We need to alert all of our employees that work in the building or around the building that they need to avoid that area. How would you do that? Right? I have a template already. Technically, all you have to do is check and hit send, and that notification would go out to your audience. Again, if that's your employees or if that's your citizens or your contractors, whoever they may be. I always make it a best practice before I send anything to anyone. I look at it, make sure it says what I want it to say, right? So I have my message here, suspicious person report. I have a content here. I kept things very simple, right? The words that I use here are really irrelevant because you all have your own plans prepared. Mine just says there have been reports of a suspicious person near the City Hall entrance. Stay away from the area until all clear is given. We'll continue to send updates. Simple message, okay? Now, in Everbridge, you can take this message and send it out as one-way standard message. I have an audience, I have a message, I hit send, they get it. Phone call, email, SMS, right? Mobile push alert, they get this message. You also have the ability to send notifications as a polling message in Everbridge. Now, what are polling messages? Well, instead of just sending a one-way message, hey, I have something to say, you got it, done. Polling is a two-way. So not only I send this message, I can ask for responses back. Press 1 if you safely evacuated the building. Press 2 if you are in the building but in a safe location. Press 3 if you're not in the area today. So not only am I alerting my audience for an event that's happening, I can also ask them to respond back with statuses, and I can get that data right away. I will get into a polling example later on. I'll show that to you, but for now, I'm going to send out a standard notification. Next one is contacts. Again, for the different audiences today, again, this could be your staff, your employees, your students. In my example, I went in and I picked a couple individuals that I want to send this message to. I picked my City Hall group. That includes every one of our employees that work at City Hall. Right? You can also come in here and go into the map and actually draw a shape and say, I'm going to send it to everyone who is in or near the Austin, Texas area, or near the City Hall in Austin, Texas, right? I live here, that's why I picked that area. So there are multiple ways of targeting who you want to send this message to. What's more important is I picked 8 unique contacts for this webinar. 7 of those people are, again, not real, so I'm the only person that's going to get this. Incident zones, this is a question that actually recently came up. I wanted to include this. When we do send out an alert to our employees of a suspicious person or an active shooter, one of the things you may want to do is use the area and create a geofence. So what's a geofence? I can actually draw a miles radius of the City Hall and alert everybody who's there, all of my employees who are there. But if I have an employee that's not in the City Hall, but they approach, they walk up to, and they enter, as they enter that geofence, they will be notified. Okay, so even though that employee may not be there, as they enter that geofence area, we could automatically distribute this message to them as well. Just wanted to highlight that. And then the last piece is, because we're sending a message, you know, you're thinking, is that going to go out as an SMS? Is that going to go out as an email or a phone call? Like, do I get to choose? The answer is yes, right? So I picked 5 different methods to deliver this messages. One of the things that's very important to us at Everbridge is multimodality, multimodal communications. We cannot rely on email as a communications method if there is an active assailant in the building. That's a point of failure. We need to be able to send them an email, an SMS, a phone call, right? Anything else we need to get the message across. So I picked all of my delivery methods here. So when I actually hit send, you're going to see a lot of things go off on my phone at the same time. The reason I'm highlighting that is it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to make everything go off all at once. You can come down here and say, look, I'm going to actually set the time between these things to 5 minutes, and my employees will get an SMS, and they have 5 minutes to respond. If they don't respond, system can move on to the next method. Give them 5 minutes to respond. If they don't, it'll move on. So it's a confirm and quit methodology, right? But it's all about the circumstance. If you're talking about an active assailant, active shooter, let's get this message over to them as quick as possible. Okay, so let me do this. Not only I want to show you how these are sent, as I mentioned, I want to show you how they are received. So let me bring up my my phone here really quickly, and it should slide in right here on the right-hand side. Okay, so I have a templated suspicious person report. I've picked my City Hall employees, and I'm going to deliver this message using all delivery methods that are here. Let's send this now. So what happens, right? The moment I hit that activate button, that message is going to start going out the door. So if you look on the right-hand side, the first thing you typically see is the mobile app alert push right there. Suspicious person report comes to your phone. Then my phone is ringing. Then I get an SMS message, and my Outlook is going. I'm going to decline this phone call for a second. See what happened there? I pushed the button and the message was sent out. And if I'm the person that's reviewing the SMS first, there they are, right? Suspicious person, stay away from the area. And it is actually asking me to confirm, reply with yes to confirm. I ask for confirmation, that's why. And if my employee were to open email first, well, they'll see the same message delivered via email. And instead of replying, all they have to do is click this link to confirm. Again, depending on the circumstance, depending on the situation, you will decide, do I want to make everybody's phones ring in this event, in this situation? If the answer is no, then you can easily say, I'm going to send this out as an SMS and a mobile push alert and an email only, because I don't want people's phones to ring. And when these messages are confirmed, and I'll go ahead and confirm this, you're immediately getting that wellness check. you know who received this message, who got this message. Okay. So if I actually go to the results, here's the message that I just sent out, right, to my City Hall employees. Not only you're seeing what the message was, how many people it went to, who sent it, but you're starting to see the results come back right away. Okay. Now my numbers are here smaller. I have 4 people that have confirmed and 3 people not confirmed, but yours may be much, much, much larger than that. Again, Everbridge is designed to scale, whether you're sending this to 800 people or 8,000 people or 800,000 people. And the last part here is, well, now that you're getting these responses, you want to make sure everybody's safe. Who are those people that have confirmed? Well, you can see here that Kamal did confirm this message, and you can see all the different ways we got in touch with him. You can see that we did send him a mobile push alert. We did send him an SMS. That's where he confirmed. We did send him a work email, a personal email, a phone call. We delivered the phone call. He didn't answer, so we left a voicemail. So being able to see that. So that is mass notification. I wanted to start with that because it is core, right? When you do find yourself in a situation where the message needs to go out the door right away, this is what you use. And that's why you prepare your templates, and that's why you have all the pieces and language in place and ready to go. Okay. Now, I sent this message from my computer. Well, if there's an active assailant situation, or if there's a suspicious person, am I going to run back into my office and fire up my laptop and send this out? No. So what I just did here, you can also do from the Everbridge or ManageBridge app. So we have a mobile application that allows folks like you to be able to go in here and say, look, I ran out of the building. I'm in the parking lot. I really need to get this suspicious person notification out the door. So I can go to that mobile app, I can find my suspicious person report template, and I can hit send, and that will be sent. Okay, wanted to highlight that really quick. All right, so that's mass notification, and I know we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to move on. The next part I'm going to talk about is incident communications. Incident communications is another way of communicating, is another way of notifying those people that you care about. The way you send these notifications are slightly different. And for those organizations that are on the call that might have staff members or operators or dispatchers that may not be emergency management specialists, they may just simply be tasked with sending these things out, you can allow them to use incident communications. Incident communications use forms. All you have to do is fill out a form, and it could have as many questions as you like in here, 1 or 3 or 5. Fill out a form and hit go, and it will create the message for you because you've prepared these templates ahead of time. Okay? So my example here is that you just got that awful call. There's an active shooter spotted in the City Hall. Okay, maybe I'm the employee that works on the first floor, and I really need to get this message out to my team right away. How do I do it? Well, 3 simple questions. Which building? Well, it's City Hall. Assailant last seen location. First floor entrance. Clothing and description. Well, green t-shirt and a black baseball cap. It could be that simple. You don't even have to provide that information or that much detail. But I just filled out 3 blanks, and when I click next here, the notification is put together automatically. An active shooter has been spotted in, there's the building I selected, was last seen near the first floor entrance, wearing a green t-shirt and black baseball cap. If you're in the building, activate active shooter protocol, whatever your procedures and protocols are, right? Run, hide, fight, get to a shelter in place, get to a safe location. The key here is that I didn't have to type this notification. I answered a handful of questions, and the notification formed itself based on those variables I provided. Why is that important? When an event like this happens, and I think most of us are in this space are familiar with this, the reading and writing level of a human being drops down to 6th grade level. Panic sets in, right? Last thing you want to do is think about spelling, grammar. Does this sentence make sense? Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. No, we need to get this message out the door. That's why these incident forms are crucial. You make a couple simple choices, notification is put together. You can even lock down this message. Like, my operator can't accidentally make a mistake here. So we locked it down. And this message is going to go out, as a polling message, which is what I referred to earlier. So you can see here, it actually says respond back with your status when you get to safety. And my options are set. I'm gonna ask them, press 1 if you safely evacuated the building, press 2 if you're stuck in the building but you're in a safe location, press 3 if you're not in the area. So I have that information immediately, and then I can pass that to my police department or fire department. So incidents are all about fill in a couple options, hit next, the message is ready to go, my audience is automatically selected, my settings are ready to go, so all I have to do is just hit the send button here. Okay. The key about incidents is reducing the potential for making mistakes and errors, which is important, but getting the message out the door in a timely manner. So let's send this out too. I'll bring up my phone again. I'm gonna send this now. Because I'm the only person that's in the audience, what will happen is it's going to send a message out in a similar way. So it's going to go out and do a mobile push alert, an SMS, and an email, and a phone call. And again, you can choose which delivery method you want to use. If you don't want to send a phone call, you don't have to. You can check that off. So there's everything going. Okay. Now the only difference here is that because this is a polling message, so what you'll see here is that the message now says, here's the active assailant, stay away from the area, activate the protocol, reply with your status. So I can easily say, I'm stuck in the building, but I'm in a safe location. So I'm just gonna press 2. Okay. Now those results are coming in. If this was an email, right? If my employee just got an email, this would look same. All they would have to do is click on a link. No reply, type anything, nope, just click on the link, and the person that sent this message now immediately knows what's going on and what the well-being of the employees are. Okay, so let's take a look at these results really quick. Active shooter alert went out in a safely manner. And you can see here that I have 3 people that are stuck in a building, but they're in a safe place. I have 4 people that haven't confirmed, right? And as a couple more minutes go by, you'll start to see some of those numbers change and move. And who they are, right here, you can see the results. Now, one question I always get here is, well, is there a way for me to quickly send a follow-up message just to those people that are stuck in the building? Absolutely. I mean, I have 3 people here identified, and as time goes on, like I said, the number may increase here. You can click on this little send follow-up, because this is not one and done. You're gonna send out more messages. You can click send follow-up, and the system will say, hey, who do you wanna follow up with? Well, I only wanna follow up with those people that said, I'm stuck in the building, but they're in a safe location. Let's send them a message saying, shelter in place, we're sending help. Okay, so that is incident communications in a nutshell. Now, again, I'm flying through some of these fairly quickly, so if you have questions, feel free to type them up in the chat session, and I can always come back at the end of the webinar and we can answer them. Next area I'm going to cover is our safety connection functionality, more specifically, safety connection mobile. These are internally we refer to these as safety buttons. Now, if you've used Everbridge or if you worked with Everbridge before, you know that you have the ability to open up a map and you can see all of your contacts, whether, if you're a city or a county, you may have your residents loaded into the map. If you're a school, you may have your students and faculty and staff loaded up in the map. And don't forget, you can always come in and say, look, I'm going to send a notification to everyone who is within a 5-mile radius of Austin and let them know that something is happening. You can do that. Pretty easy, right? Draw a circle, new notification, choose my template, send, done. And it doesn't have to be a shape on the fly too. I work with a lot with cities and counties, and they have GIS departments that provide some of these boundary shapes. So can I just quickly identify every contact I have in the Austin ISD? Well, yes, you can, right? These are GIS files that you can import into Everbridge. Just immediately identifies how many employees or how many people we have in that shape. I have 82, and we can send them a notification. So these are just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. Now, what's really important here is, so far we're talking about, we have something to say, and we're going to communicate that to our employees so they can be out of harm's way. Or we have an event that's happening in a corner of a street. We need to notify neighbors or citizens within a 5-mile radius so that they're aware of what's going on. What about giving them some of the tools to respond to you? What if I'm an employee and I find myself in a situation where I'm in danger? I need help, that I need to communicate back to my team. What are some tools available? So let's talk about that. That's called Safety Connection Mobile. I'm going to bring up my phone screen here again. Now, earlier I mentioned that there's a mobile app, right? We talked about the Everbridge app. So if you're a message sender, you can send messages using your mobile device anywhere. Now, you just have to be authorized to send messages. You have to have the permission to send messages, but that's what the Manage app does. The app that's right next to it is called Everbridge. This app is used by your recipients, your residents, your employees, your students, your faculty, your staff. They can download the Everbridge app. And what this does is it gives you another way of getting in touch with your audience, right? So when I did send that active shooter alert, not only they got an SMS and a phone call and an email, but they also got the mobile push alert from Everbridge. Why is this important? Well, we know when large scale events happen, cell service may not be the most reliable, right? SMS may be down, phone calls may not go through. But if you have that one bar of a Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, Everbridge app will deliver that message to your audience. Again, that's why multimodality is very, very important, not relying on one way of getting in touch with somebody. So that's one of the reasons why your contacts will have the app downloaded. But the other piece is all about that safety. Okay, so let's run through a couple quick examples here. There's been an active shooter report. We've evacuated the buildings that are around the city hall, and we asked everybody, when you get to your muster point, check in. Well, all the employee has to do is click that little button and click that green check-in functionality. What does that do? Well, it simply lets the organization lets you know that your employees checked in from a certain location. Okay? So it uses the phone's location services to say, hey, I'm here. And you can now easily go in and say, okay, well, let's see. Oh, Kamal just checked in right from there. Or I can come in and I can say, show me everyone who's checked into muster point A. I can come in, I can draw a shape, and if I'm expecting 75 people there, and if I see 75 check-ins, I know people are there. That's one use case, check-in. Next one is safe corridor. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on safe corridor because when we think about active shooter events, safe corridor may not be applicable right away. Safe corridor is typically used by lone workers. So if you have employees that work out in the field, if you have probation officers, if you have code enforcement officers that are out in locations and they go from point A to point B, we have a functionality that allows the employee to activate a safe corridor. If they know that they may not be in a safe area, when they activate safe corridor, they can tell the system, hey, check in with me every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes. And as long as I'm safe, I enter my PIN and system knows I'm safe. If I fail to enter my PIN, Everbridge system can automatically press the panic button and say this employee is in danger. Again, not 100% lined up with the active shooter scenario, but I wanted to highlight that really quick because I know there are a lot of folks on the webinar today that have teams that are out in the field, and in some cases they're alone out in the field. So that safe corridor will come in handy. The other two line up perfectly with the example here, right? If I am an employee and I am witnessing an active shooter, I see a gun where I shouldn't be, what do I need to do? Well, first, get to safety. Second, call 911. Now, those are key items. One of the things you can do with Everbridge is you can program that little emergency call button to call 911. So it'll immediately connect you to 911. But at the same time, it'll report your location. It'll put a dot on the map. Okay? So you're still talking to 911, but the system has a record as to when you press that button and where you press that button. That's important. And then the last one is SOS, or most call this the panic button, right? I'm in that situation. I'm seeing this event unfolding in the city hall, and I need help, right? I can't move. Maybe I'm hiding behind an object. I can press this SOS button. What happens? Well, when you press the SOS button, the system will count down like this. You don't have to wait for this. And a couple things will happen. One, it'll activate SOS. So a notification at this point is sent. An Everbridge notification is sent. to the law enforcement, to your security team, to your sheriff's office. A notification is sent saying an employee just pressed the panic button. That's out the door. But at the same time, this device that I'm holding in my hand is now streaming 2 minutes of audio and video from the front camera. Okay, so this phone is seeing what I'm seeing. And you can see here, there's a big giant banner that popped up on my screen. Now, if you happen to be watching, then you'll see, oh, there's the employee, press the SOS button. Oh, there's a live video feed. Let's take a look. Okay. So you're seeing what the employee's seeing. You're hearing what the employee's hearing in real time. It's 2 minutes of audio streaming. It's very important. Now, we don't expect all you to be looking at this screen waiting for someone to press the SOS button, right? That's not reasonable. So what happens is when that button is pressed, a notification will be sent to the right teams, and we could even do that based on where the person is and where they press the button. So if they're within a 1 mile radius of the city hall, we can alert certain audience. And if they are 5 miles or more away from the city hall, then we can do something else. But if you're not watching that live, that video and audio recording of the event unfolding is saved, and you can share that with law enforcement. Okay? There's a full record of all employees that activated Safe Corridor, all employees that pressed the SOS panic button, and you can go back, keeps them for 6 months, and you can access those. Now, one of the first questions that pop up typically is, well, can I turn that off, right? Can I prevent the camera from recording audio and video? Absolutely. A lot of these are permissions driven. So if you want to give your employees the SOS button, but you don't want the audio and recording functionality for one reason or the other, you can take that away from them. Okay. So that is safety connection. Again, this is really designed to give your employees a peace of mind, keep that panic button in their pockets. There are a lot of use cases that we hear and customers we talk to and say, well, we've installed physical buttons on our desks, but more often than not, employee may be in the next room, next office, walking down the hallway when they see one of these events and everybody has their phones in their pockets. They can take it out, press the button. There's also an Apple Watch app, right? So if you're wearing an Apple Watch, it's right there. You can just press the panic button right from your Apple Watch. There's also wearable devices that are available. So if you don't want to take out your phone, if you don't want to be seen pressing that button, you could have a small wearable device in your pocket attached to your lanyard. All you have to do is press that button and it connects to your phone via Bluetooth and triggers the SOS. Again, we're talking about first get the safety, then call 911 and then report an alert. Okay. So I'm gonna take my phone away here for a second. One of the things that I want to talk about is our crisis management. So far we've talked about mass notification. Event happens, we need to communicate. How do you do it? We talked a little bit about those incidents and incident forms, right? If we have employees that may not know what to type, give them the form, let them answer a couple questions. We know an accurate notification is going to go out the door. We talked a little bit about geomapping, sending messages through the map, and also using the mobile safety functionality. Right? There's a lot more there that we can get into. There are some rules you can establish. If the person pressing the button is a member of the police department, then we can make something different happen. Or if they are a member of the staff, administrative staff, then we can do trigger a separate task. So there are a lot of different rules you can set. But for today's example, it's all about get the safety. You need help, press the button. Okay, so next let's talk briefly about crisis management. Now, crisis management 100% doesn't apply to the use case for today, because if you've heard Brian's webinar, most active shooter events are done within a matter of minutes, right? They start and they're done. So crisis management is really designed to respond to large-scale events. So one use case you can think of here is if there is an after-action report and list of things that you need to respond to and do, well then crisis management is great for that. We have another webinar coming up that talks about large into our next webinar, large crowd events and how you respond to them. A great use case, because when you think about large crowd events, you can prepare ahead of time, and the event is happening, and then afterwards, the event, you still have action items to complete. But its core, just to summarize what crisis management is all about, at its core, crisis management takes your standard operating procedures, your plans, and helps you digitize them and distribute them from Everbridge. Okay. Now, I talk to a lot of folks. I say, well, do you have these plans? Yes, we do. Where are they? Well, they're in SharePoint somewhere. We have a whole bunch of documents. So when something happens, we go download them. Or more common answer, to be honest, is yeah, we have those plans. They're on the third floor on the shelf in a binder collecting dust. But we can run up there and grab the binder and dust it off and open it up and activate if we need to. Well, the goal here is to bring those and digitize them. Not only now they're stored and you can access and activate them with a single click, but now that plan can incorporate your tasks and task lists. So if this happened to be an active shooter one, I have an immediate to-do list that I need to send to my response team when this event is activated. Then I may have an immediate task list that goes to our communications and PR team. Get ready. Do this, do this, do this. Now, as a part of this event, I also have my notifications lined up. So when we activate this event, I want to send out an active shooter in your building notification. And then maybe I want to send out a crisis management team activation alert. And then I have my all clear ready to go, which is a part of my plan. I don't need to send that yet, but at the end, I'm going to trigger that all clear alert. Okay. So what you're seeing here is it takes those plans that you have in place and brings all the different teams and members, individuals that are involved, and it digitizes them and puts them on the one roof. So here I am, right? I'll go ahead and activate this plan really quick. And the first thing you'll see is, because this event is tied to a list of tasks that need to get done right away. Let's leave that phone open here again. I'm gonna launch this active shooter in City Hall. The first thing that's gonna activate is one of my first task lists here. Active shooter response, immediate to-do list. See here, so I have 4 tasks that goes to my team. They need to do these things. And on the right-hand side, you see I'm already getting notification, pretending to be the person out in the field. It's telling me I have tasks assigned to me that I need to go take a look at. Okay, so what I can do is I can go access what those tasks are. I can see the first task here is immediately call emergency services. Well, we've done that already. Done. Okay. Next task that's assigned to me is immediately notify employees and floor wardens. Okay. In progress. Again, I'm pretending to be multiple people here. I want you to see, when you activate these plans, your team members can get these task assignments, they can pick them up, and they can start working with them. So now that I said, yep, I'm working on this, it's very easy as the event manager or the person to say, I'm going to send out an alert notification to the team saying, hey, this is what's happening. And when I'm done with that task, I can complete that. Right. If I am facilitate floor evacuations and I am 3 miles away from the city hall, I can come in and say, unable. Please assign to someone else. Right, so I can add comments, I can interact with these tasks and things that I need to do. And what happens is my team that's monitoring this can see, okay, once one task is not going to get done. Why? Well, because one of our employees are unable to get that task done. So let's go and reassign that task to to Chris. So being able to make changes to these plans on the fly is crucial. We know we plan, we prepare, but things change. Not everything happens or in the order that we want them to. So if you need to make changes to these plans while the event is unfolding, if you need to add additional tasks because you didn't account for something, you can do that right from here. And all those communications are done automatically. So if you look at my phone, you saw task reassignment just went out. Okay. So I'm not going to dive any deeper into crisis management. I wanted to show you this example, and I think in further webinars as you attend, you'll see more of how can you prepare and plan for rallies and protests and large crowd events, how this can be used to generate situation reports on the fly. We will get into a lot of that in further webinars. but wanted to at least introduce the concept to you and kind of talk a little bit about what it is and what it does. Okay. Next, so far, again, talked about in mass notifications and incidents, we talked about employee safety through safety buttons, right? When an event like an active shooter situation is unfolding, you have that button to press, get help. We talked a little bit about crisis management, right? Just digitizing of those plans. Last, I want to touch on is our Visual Command Center product. Now, some of you may already be familiar with this, and for others, this may be a new concept. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So Visual Command Center is the interactive mapping component of our critical event management package. Okay, so it provides this single pane of glass, that one common operating picture for you and for your team to not only monitor what's going on, but also respond. So all the pieces that we've talked about so far, being able to send a notification, being able to see if an employee pressed the SOS button, all can be done in single interface. Okay? So what are all these dots and shapes that you're seeing here? So let me walk you through really quickly. So in Visual Command Center, you can bring in assets. What are assets? Well, assets are things we care about, right? These are our employees, these are our people. In some cases, this may be our students, citizens. Bring them in. So all these dots represent people. Now, mine is distributed. So if you are with a specific county or a city, obviously yours will be clustered in a certain area. But these are all the people that we care about. We have them in our system. We have the ability to communicate with them. Well, on the other hand, there are a lot of things that happen in the United States, in your community, that keep you up at night. Right? We call them risk events. And there are a lot of them, unfortunately. Right? So if I zoom in here, you'll be able to see any fires that have happened, any active shooting that happened, robberies that happened. So these are risk intelligence feeds that are coming into Everbridge from a variety of different sources. The primary one being our own Risk Intelligence Monitoring Center, RIMC, powered by NC4. Some of you may be familiar with NC4. NC4 is now an Everbridge company. They're reporting these risk events. Now, in city, state, county, local government, you may be the source that's reporting this. Right? Just knowing that, keep that in the back of your mind. This will pull in risk intelligence from hurricane sources, wildfires, floods, weather events, earthquakes, and things like that. Why am I highlighting this? Well, if you zoom out and you look at this, there are a ton of things that are happening around the United States. Do you care about all these things? Well, you probably want to focus in on the ones that are impacting your people, whether we're talking about it a very, very hyper local level. This is my city hall. I care about the 50-mile radius, or you could be a university that has a sister campus over in Europe, and you're monitoring those students that you have that are traveling. Okay, so there are different use cases here. So what happens here? Well, VCC is monitoring these risk events, keeping an eye on the assets that you care about, and it automatically alerts you when one of those risk events impact one of the things you care about. And you can see these little red icons. So if I click here, you can see that there's recently a shooting in Charlotte, and all of these people that I have in the area are impacted. Okay. There's another one in Nashville. Okay. So this was February 4th, 12/17. That was an hour ago, less than an hour ago. So you can see what the event is. You can see all the people that are getting impacted by that event. Is it just there? Is it going to stop? No. Now you can use the Visual Command Center interface to say, all right, you know what? I'm going to send out an incident and a notification right from this interface. Right? So these buttons up top. Now I can see the event that's happening, my people that are getting impacted, and I can now communicate with them immediately. Whether it's an event that I want to launch and manage the tasks of, whether it is an incident that I want to send out to my team about what's going on, I can do it all from this one interface. Okay. And one last thing here. Do you have to be watching this 24/7? No. VCC is always on. Okay. You can set rules that say when an event of a certain type, certain severity occurs near my building, my town, my facility, my campus, automatically alert the team. Right? Even if it's 3 a.m. in the morning, you're not watching this. You may not have a security operations center. You may not have a network operations center. You may just be a small team that still needs to monitor what's going on. Let VCC do a lot of the work for you. So if you're interested in more of a deep dive on Visual Command Center, there's a lot here. We would be happy to set up a call and walk you through. There's more than what I've shown so far. Right? We've talked about risk events. We talked about assets. You can also enable contextual feeds to really zoom in and hone in on situations. If you're evacuating a team of people that are in Austin, you can turn on traffic cameras and you can see what the traffic situation is like. Right? If you want to take a look at what the interstate looks like, you can do that. If you wanted to take a look at what the weather forecast looks like for the next couple of days, you can enable weather. And this will actually show you what's going on. So these are just some of the contextual feeds that, again, allow you to paint that full picture. Wanted to highlight that. And then the last piece, this is mainly for the city, state, and local government that I do want to mention. I'll actually bring up a slide here. Is one of the products we didn't really talk about is our resident connection product. It really is designed for those cities and counties and states that are struggling obtaining citizen information. Okay, couple quick slides here. 55% of U.S. households only use wireless phones. 10, 15 years ago, we had landlines to rely on. We don't anymore. So how do we get in touch with our citizens, our residents? Okay. And if you actually take a look at here, that really the big challenge here is that the traditional 911 database is just, I mean, they don't have voice over IP phones, or they don't have mobile data. Right? When you send out these evacuation orders for a hurricane or a tornado, it's really reaching a fairly small percentage, and I think most of you are familiar with that. So Everbridge can provide resident connection, which is a verified, vetted data for mobile, voice over IP, and landline for your citizens and residents. Okay. Now we can continuously maintain and update that data. It's designed for life safety emergency use only, as you guys can imagine, but it is now taking you from 10, 20% of resident opt-in information you may have available and filling in the rest of the blank, providing you with that extra coverage. So if you do need to send out an evacuation, or if you do need to alert a neighborhood about a suspect on the loose, you can use the resident connection data to do that. Okay, we've covered a lot in a fairly short period of time, and I appreciate you for sticking through this. What I'll do is we have about 10 minutes left over here. I'll pause. I'll pass the presenter rights back to Sal and see if we have any questions that are lingering that we can address, and see if there's any other items that we need to cover. Sal?
Thank you, Kamal. And yes, we do have a lot of questions. So now is the Q&A portion of our session. So just as a reminder to everybody, questions can be submitted on the GoToWebinar control panel. We've already got a number of questions that have come in. I also just wanted to remind everybody, we do have another webinar coming up. So we're going to continue this pattern. You'll notice for the first half of the year, a common questions webinar. So as I mentioned, we did like a common questions webinar on active shooter, and then we did, how can Everbridge products help you during an active shooter incident? So we're gonna do the same thing with managing large crowd events. So the common questions, so the strategic plan discussion around large crowd events will take place March 26th at 2 p.m. We have a little bit.ly link there. So if you want to copy down that bit.ly link and register for it now, you can. If not, look for the link to that webinar on your follow-up notifications from this webinar. So we have a lot of questions coming in. I'm just going to try to go as fast as possible. So come on. This is about incident zones. Is the organization public or private? If he uses the incident zone with a geofence and his organization is public, would others with the app be able to see it? If it's private, can he use a geofence?
There are a couple ways to respond to that. So what we can do is let me take that question and we'll respond back to the group. So yes, I mean if you have a public, if you're a government organization, city, state, local, and you've created a geofenced area, as long as your contacts, your residents, your citizens have the Everbridge app, when they walk into that area, they'll be able to see that notification. Okay, that's the quick question. That's a quick answer. Now you can also, if you're a private organization and you don't want, anybody with the Everbridge app to see a notification you put out there, obviously you can make it private so that only your contacts and your teams are seeing it. So it depends on the use case, depending on the vertical, whether you're again a city, state, local, or private company or an education client. But I hope that answer helps.
Perfect. So there's a question, are the templates already populated or are they customized per organization?
So it's a great question. If you're a new customer coming in, you'll obviously go through onboarding and customer success. One of the things we provide is message guides. If you're just getting started with notifications and message templates and you haven't gone through that exercise, we can give you some starters or message guides for you to start thinking about. What we don't want to do is provide you with 10 templates and say use these. Everybody's situation is different, everybody's audience is different, and the way you want to communicate that message is different. That said, can we get you started with a set of templates? Yes. Do we work with you on personalizing and crafting and giving you best practices on how to put those? That answer is yes also.
Perfect. What was the name of the mobile app for senders?
So there are, again, great questions. There are two apps. One is called Manage Bridge. So if you just type Manage Everbridge or Manage Bridge, the app will pop up. It's a red icon. The other one is called Everbridge, and Everbridge is the more general population. Your employees, your citizens, your residents can download it. But if you're a message sender, it's called Manage Bridge.
And an additional question to that is the Managed Bridge app available in the Apple Store for download?
Yes, Apple Store and Android Store, you'll be able to download that, yes.
Perfect. And again, please keep questions coming. Thank you for our audience. We do have some time, so please just submit all your questions to the GoToWebinar control panel. Let's see what's next. Sorry, I lost my pace. So this is a good question. Are we able to test these functions out? Practical applications are always helpful to practice to better be prepared to implement this tool. So
yes.
A little bit about how people practice.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. It's an important topic. Thanks for asking the question. So first, I'm going to echo one of the things that that Brian brought up in the webinar 2 weeks ago, right? Exercise, drill, prepare. You need to do these things, and I think there's a way that, especially a situation like an active shooter, needs to be handled when you're exercising. Do a tabletop exercise. You don't need to do a full-on drill where you actually get everyone involved, because we do hear scenarios where companies attempt to do this and not communicate fully to their employees, and before you know it, the police department is at the office because, well, somebody thought that this wasn't a drill. In Everbridge, there are tools put in place. When you're sending out a notification or when you're sending out an Everbridge incident, there is a mode called exercise mode. Turn that on. People know this is a drill. It's an exercise mode. It's not real. Same thing with events. When you're responding and launching events, there's a drill mode that you can turn on. So when this event is activated, people clearly see that this is a drill. It's not a live event. But my recommendation would be, and this is again echoing Brian's recommendation, tabletop exercise is the way to go. Sit down, put everything down, go over it again, find out where the shortcomings were, and go back through it. And throughout your onboarding with Everbridge, if you're new to Everbridge, we will train you on how to set these up. We'll train you on how you can schedule monthly or quarterly tests for notifications, and how you can enable those drill and exercise only modes in the application. So when you're sending a test message, it goes out as a test message.
Again, reminder to the audience, please continue to submit your questions while we have time in the GoToWebinar control panel. Here's one. I'm an agency manager with dispatch capability. How do I access the visual command center?
Great question. So if you're an existing Everbridge customer and you are using our either mass notification or incident communication products, I highly recommend you get in touch with your account manager. And your account manager would be able to set up a detailed demonstration for you, and we can have that discussion, what parts of the CEM suite you're interested in. We would like to understand kind of what you have in place today, because a lot of organizations have tools in place today. They have some mapping tool, they have some response tool, and how we can consolidate them under the VCC umbrella. So my recommendation would be reach out to your account manager or contact at Everbridge, and we'll be able to have a live conversation with you shortly.
Thank you. I think though the question was just how do they act, like where are they logging in? Are they logging into Everbridge to see it? Is it available on their phone? Like how are they, assuming that one has purchased Visual Command Center, how does one access it?
Sure. If somebody has access, it's vcc.everbridge.net. It's very similar to, for those that are familiar, if you're logging into Everbridge, it's manager.everbridge.net, right? The suite. VCC is simply vcc.everbridge.net. But if you're not given the permission, or if your account doesn't have VCC enabled, you won't be able to see it.
Are you able to translate into other languages?
Good question. And translation, I always approach that question with a little caveat, a little asterisk. So the system has translation capabilities, okay? System can even utilize the local language for text-to-speech. However, if you're sending an alert, if you're sending an emergency message in foreign language, please, please, please have a native speaker translate the content. You do not want to trust on a computer translation, which is kind of what Everbridge utilizes. You do not want to rely 100% on computer translation when you're sending out health, life, safety messages for obvious reasons, right? Words have different meanings, and you don't want to send somebody down the wrong path. So yes, there's translation capabilities. Yes, it also is included in the text-to-speech. Strong recommendation that use native speakers to translate actual content.
All right, good question. Do you have an example, or can you speak more to the wearable panic devices that we have available?
Yes, so we talked a little bit about the mobile app, right? Mobile app is the primary device you can give to your employees and they can press the button. We talked about the Apple Watch, right? Apple Watch is simply an app you can download, and those panic buttons are available. Everbridge has 2 additional panic button options available. One is through a partner called Wristband. This is almost like a wearable camera device that has its own GSM connection. So it will not only do the SMS, the SOS push, but it'll also connect on its own. That's a little bit of higher end, commonly used in healthcare, right? We see that a lot. So it's called Wristband. And the other one is a much smaller Bluetooth button. It's just about 1.5 inches, 2 inches tall. It just has one button on it. And we've just started to kind of pilot this concept with our clients. So if you are interested, if you're an Everbridge customer, if you're interested in learning more about that panic button, how it works, get in touch with your account manager, and we can always set up a demonstration and walk you through it.
Perfect. So we're coming up to the end, but I think we have time for a couple more. Is the ability to view city camera feeds, so in this case, we're talking about the Texas Department of Transportation, only available in VCC, or can we utilize it in critical events as well?
So great question. So bringing in those contextual feeds, right? So contextual feeds are the weather feeds, the TV cameras currently available in our VCC product. Now, and it's not just limited to those. We've actually had requests in the past where customers wanted to incorporate their own, not just feeds, but data, right? If you're monitoring other things, if you have IoT devices, if you have sensors, flood gauges, you name it, we now actually have an interface that allows us to be able to integrate our VCC product with that. So if you're looking at that going, ooh, that may be interesting for our use cases, again, get in touch with us and we'll set up more of a customized walkthrough with you and demonstrate how that will function. But today, the camera feeds are not available just in the crisis management. It is included in the Visual Command Center product.
So one last question, if we want to handle it really quickly. I'm not sure exactly what the context is, but before we get off today, can you talk about conference bridging?
Yes, I can. So we didn't really spend too much time on conference bridging, but I'll mention it really quickly. So when you send out a notification from Everbridge, like we did early on in the webinar, you can send it out as a standard message. You can send it out as a polling message, which allows people to respond back, or you can send out a notification as a conference bridge. When you send out a message as a conference bridge, obviously you're not sending a conference bridge message to 10,000 people, right? You may be sending that to your first responders, your SWAT team, your leadership team. You choose the conference bridge, which we ship with 4 of them. You pick one, and when that message is sent, the recipient will hear the message fully, and at the end it'll say, press 1 to join the conference bridge. That's it. It's not going to say write down this 10-digit number and call the separate line. No, it's a one push. You listen to the message, you press 1, now you're on the conference bridge with other recipients of that notification, and you're in the same conference bridge. There's also a smart conference functionality that's an upgrade to that, where you can record the conversation, where you can monitor attendees. It's an additional service, but those are available within the mass notification and incident communication packages.
Sounds good. Okay, we are past the time, so I want to thank everybody, especially those who are still on the line, for obviously sticking with us for the whole hour. Would also like to thank Kamal. Kamal, thank you so much for this presentation.
Of course, thank you.
So again, a reminder to our audience, we did record today's session. We are recording today's session. You will record, you will receive a copy of that recording. You'll also get some interesting links. You'll get a link to our common questions on active shooter response webinar that occurred in January. And then you'll also get a link to our next common questions webinar in March around large crowd events. So thank you so much, everybody. Good luck keeping people safe.